Everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. So today we're going to be working with some beets that I happened to get a hold of. These ones I was able to buy really cheap from the farmer. I got a half bushel for $20. And that's just because I happened to be at the farmer's market and I saw that the farmer was sorting some beets aside. Yes, Scarlett, you can help. That's my daughter. Come on this side, please. You're going to help dry them. And so I asked him what he was doing with the ones that he wasn't putting out for display. He told me they didn't sell well because they were kind of funny shapes. And I said, that's not a problem. Asked him how much they were. And because he hadn't been planning on selling them at the market, he gave me a whole lot of them for a real good price. It's one of the things you can do if you're working directly with the farmers or going to things like the farmer's market. You can ask for a discount. It doesn't always work, but if you're willing to take small, odd-shaped, or not in the best condition produce, then you can most definitely get a discount. Sometimes. Depends on what the sales are like that day. Thank you, Scarlett. Can you come on the other side of me and work in the sink? My daughter likes to help. So all I'm doing is taking a clean scrubby and scrubbing my beets before we get ready to deal with them. So we're going to probably roast some of these. We're definitely going to pickle a lot of them. And probably freeze some of them as well if I've got some space left in the freezer. So here we go. We're just going to clean off some beets, and I will see you when I have a half bushel of clean beets. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. So today we're going to be working with some beets that I happened to get a hold of. These ones I was able to buy really cheap from the farmer. I got a half bushel for $20. And that's just because I happened to be at the farmer's market and I saw that the farmer was sorting some beets aside. Yes, Scarlett, you can help. That's my daughter. Come on this side, please. You're going to help dry them. And so I asked him what he was doing with the ones that he wasn't putting out for display. He told me they didn't sell well because they were kind of funny shapes. And I said, that's not a problem. Asked him how much they were, and because he hadn't been planning on selling them at the market, he gave me a whole lot of them for a real good price. It's one of the things you can do if you're working directly with the farmers or going to things like the farmer's market. You can ask for a discount. It doesn't always work, but if you're willing to take small, odd-shaped, or not in the best condition produce, then you can most definitely get a discount. Sometimes. Depends on what the sales are like that day. Thank you, Scarlett. Can you come on the other side of me and work in the sink? My daughter likes to help. So all I'm doing is taking a clean scrubby and scrubbing my beets before we get ready to deal with them. So we're going to probably roast some of these. We're definitely going to pickle a lot of them. And probably freeze some of them as well if I've got some space left in the freezer. So here we go. We're just going to clean off some beets, and I will see you when I have a half bushel of clean beets. Okay, so here I have a sink of freshly washed cleaned beets, and over on my stove I have some water that's getting up to near boiling. I put it on as soon as I started cleaning my beets, but it's the biggest pot that I have because I am working with a half bushel. If you were working with a smaller amount, you would be happy to use a smaller pot to boil your beets. Just size them based on what you have. Now, when you're working with beets, you'll notice that I work either with tongs or with gloves. That's because beets stain. So what we're going to do is we're going to transfer all of our beets into the boiling water here, and we're going to boil them until they are tender. Not like eating tender, just like tenderized enough that we can slip the skins off. Depending on the size of beets you have, this can take anywhere from 15 minutes for a small to an hour for a large. I actually have a variety of sizes in here because I did purchase seconds. So I'm going to have to check mine every 15 minutes and remove any beets that are ready to go as they are available. So, throw all this in, bring my water up to a boil, and then at 15 minutes I will come back and talk with you. Okay, so when I drained my beet juice, I saved aside the beet water. In fact, actually, I saved myself 8, 16, 24 cups of beet juice. So I've got some there, my drained beets, cooling off a little bit so I can handle them, and some more beet juice. The reason I save this is because it has good nutrition, good flavor, and I'm going to use this to replace the water in my canning recipe, and that just means that we'll get a better flavor. I'm back. I've got my vegetable cutting board. I've got some clean, washed, warm jars. These ones here are 1 liter, but you use the size that you have. And I've got clean lids. And then I've got a pile of beets in the sink. So what I'm going to do is just peel them. And you'll know that you've cooked them to the right level when the skins just peel off with your hands. The tops and bottoms will peel and just chunk right off. And then what I'm going to do is just, if it's a larger one, I'm going to slice it up, cut it up into chunks, into there it goes. If it's, say, a nice small one like this one, I'm just going to rub all the skin off. I'm just using my sink to hold the extras right now. I'm going to toss it in there whole because it's small enough for a pickled baby beet. So I'm going to sit here, do myself some beet peeling, and it's very, very important that you wear gloves during this. If you are doing this correctly, then by this point your house looks a little bit like a murder's occurred, and it smells like kind of sweet earth. Now, say I don't like how big this one is, I can cut it into chunks. I'm doing homemade pickled beets. In fact, these are Newfoundland homemade pickled beets, so very rustic style. I'm not obligated to make perfect slices. I can do chunks. I can do whatever I feel like or whatever fits best into my jars, because there is no one judging here. We're just getting some food saved away. Now this one here is a bit of a top to it, so I'm going to cut that off and toss it out. But other than that, it is worth noting that whatever cutting board you use is going to get stained. In this particular case, this is my vegetable cutting board. It's stained night ways from Sundays, so I don't care. But if you care, you can either work on a glass plate, which is less likely to get stained, or you could work on something like parchment paper as a covering, or just use something disposable. And if you have the chance, work outside, because this is quite messy and does kind of take a real toll on your kitchen. It's cleanup is a bit of a chore. So I'm going to sit here and process my beets, and when they're all in the can, I will come back with you. Okay, my battery's getting low, so we're gonna have to make this a little bit. I have now chopped up and packed all of my beets. I got 9 pints of just randomly rough chopped, odd shapes, slices, quarters, whatever fit, and one liter jar of small whole ones. And those ones I'll save for best. That means I'll use those ones come Christmas dinner or something. Over here in my pot, I have 8 cups of 5% white vinegar, and 4 cups of the beet juice, and 4 cups of sugar. Officially, Newfoundland beets call for brown sugar. However, I had 3 cups of brown and ran out, so I added in a cup of white to top it off, and it's not going to make a big difference. That's the thing about canning. So long as you have the right ingredients and the right acid, you're going to be pretty much okay. You can switch your sugars, your vinegars, just make sure that you're not switching amounts. You can also add in flavorings like cinnamon, clove, pickling spice, whatever you like. So I'm going to add that to my brine and bring that up to a boil, and then we'll add it to our jars. At the same time, I'm going to put my big canning pot on to boil because it's going to take a while. Okay, now I have hot boiling broth, so I'm just going to pour it into my beets via funnel, right until it gets up to I believe it's 1-inch headspace. But either way, I'm going to fill it till it comes just below the rim. Then I'm going to take this is just a skewer. You can use a butter knife, you can use a chopstick, just anything long and pointy. So, I'm going to take this out for a minute, grab that stick I had set aside. There we go, and I'm down to 5% battery, so this is going to have to go fast. And you're just going to give it a couple pokes around. All you're trying to do is release any air bubbles that may, in fact, be in there. Sometimes you'll skewer a piece of beet as well. And then, just go ahead and top that up. And okay, so that was my my battery dying. So we're going to do this with some voiceover and some pictures from this point, because that's what I'm down to. Once you add the brine to the beets and bubble it, or that is to say, put the stick in and remove all the bubbles by poking it around. You want to make sure that you're filled up to a 1/2-inch headspace. So on the 1-liter containers, the 1/2-inch headspace is just where the threads go down to. So that's how I knew. And then when you're done, you want to wipe the rims with a clean cloth. I like to use a little vinegar on it to make sure that it's really clean. And then you're going to apply the lids and the rings on top of the lids. Tighten it finger tight. You don't need to go crazy tightening it. Just needs to be comfortable. From there, what you're going to do is you are going to load up your canner. So you're going to put it into the boiling or near boiling water. I have a canner, so I have a special basket that helps me to lower and lift the jars in. But if you're using a regular pot, what's really important is that the jars can't touch the bottom. So if you've got extra rings from mason jars, you can use that. If you've got a trivet, you can use that, like a metal wire thing that holds jars up. If you have nothing else, grab some aluminum foil and form it into like kind of an S shape and fit that around the bottom of the pan and use that to hold the jars off the bottom. Now, the jars do have to be covered with boiling water with an extra inch of water on top of them. So you're going to use your biggest pan, and you're going to make sure before you start the project that the size jars that you're using can be covered with water inside your biggest pan. And if that's not the case, use a smaller size jar. If you don't have a pan big enough to cover your pickles, like your jars of pickles, with an inch of water to boil, then you've got refrigerator pickles. Throw your jars at this point into the fridge and use them up within the next 6 weeks. In this case, you wouldn't want to do a large batch unless you really, really like that type of pickle, but it's a good way to get a little bit more time out of your food. So I loaded 5 liters per batch into my canner. Mine, however, is a 7-can canner. So I had to add 2 empty jars per batch that were filled with water, and they would just help keep the jars in space. You don't want your jars to fall down while they're processing. So because I was using liters, and even if you were using 1/2 liters, the processing time, because Sudbury is at sea level, or under 1,000 feet, is 30 minutes boiled. Now it has to be boiling the whole time. So you don't start the timer until the water comes up to a boil. You time the whole 30 minutes, and if it does stop boiling in that time, you have to bring it back up to a boil and restart your timer. So you want to be careful. You also want to double check that you don't run out of water on top. because that's important. So you can always boil a kettle to have some nice hot water to add if you're getting low on water, but make sure you keep an eye on it. When you're done boiling it, you do want to take them out, and you want to let them cool a little bit before you take them out. The jars can be shocked if it's really cold in the room and break, and the last thing you want to do at this point is lose your food. It was really, really hot in my house, so it didn't take me long to get them ready. You will notice that when I put them down, I put them on a towel. That is because on the off chance there's any type of leaks or anything, the beet juice is now protected, at least by a towel, from getting everywhere. This also just helps prevent shocking the jars. It just treats them nicer. And make sure you space them apart so there's a little bit of space for air to get between and let them cool down. They have to sit upright for 12 to 24 hours untouched before they're ready to be moved. And the proper way to store your pickles and all your home canned items is upright, and you want to remove the rings. What happens is the rings can create a false seal. It'll give you a false sense of security that your food is safe when in fact the seal has let go and it's not good. So if you remove the rings when you store it and make sure that you don't store anything on top, then you will know when you go to open it, when you hear that pop, that the pop is real and your food is safe and good to eat. Pickles need a month in the cupboard to fully pickle before they start to taste good when they're not refrigerator pickles, when they're canned. But the longer you leave them, the better they're going to taste. So I hope you enjoy the journey and enjoy yourself some canned pickles.